This was about 4 or 5 years ago, but it still gives me nightmares. I was at the time attending college that was only about a 10-minute walk from my Nana's apartment. In between classes, I would walk over and visit her. This was in a sketchy part of town. I was just very frumpy. Sweatpants and an oversized sweatshirt, always with the hood up. I figured that was nothing attractive or flashy, and was a plain message of don't bother me. My mistake was thinking that it was the middle of the day. No one would try to do anything. I'm not calling attention to myself, so I'm practically invisible. I was leaving my Nana's house, heading back to campus, when I noticed a plain blue van slowly driving next to me. It's a man asking me directions to a well-known hotel with giant signs posted all over the side of the road. I don't answer him and keep my head down, walking a bit quicker. I see him pull into the parking lot to turn his car off and hop out. He's now walking next to me, saying I'm pretty, and asking me questions like what my name was, if I knew any places to party, why I was being so shy, or if I needed a ride. I don't know why I did this. I probably thought if I act like I'm tough, he would leave me alone. I stopped walking, looked him in the face, and said, "Take a hint. If I'm not answering you, it means leave me alone." The look he gave me sent chills down my spine. This completely expressionless face. He walked away, staring at me the whole time. I saw him hop into his car and fly out of the parking lot in the opposite direction. I felt relieved as I saw him drive away and continued on my route. As I'm crossing the road, I see the same van come screeching towards me. He drives up halfway on the sidewalk in front of me, blocking my path, telling me to get in the van. I'm frozen in fear. I'm terrified and in shock this is happening. I just stand there telling myself to run, but my legs feel like lead, and I can't move. He gets out of the front seat and opens the back doors, telling me to get in the van or else. Just then I hear a man's voice yell from the hotel right next to us, asking what the hell is going on. The creepy guy tells him to mind his business. Then a man from across the street yells at him as well. When he turns around to tell this man to shut up, I booked it. I ran faster than I ever ran in my entire life. I somehow made it back to campus, crying and gasping for air, while people stared at me like I was a lunatic. I told campus security, who took down all the details and told me they would look into it. I never got an update. This happened when I was roughly 8 years old. I'm 26 now, and I will always remember this. My family and I all went to Six Flags for the day and ended at the water park. There is a large water slide towards the back of the water park, and the slide ends in an area where no one else is around. And you have to walk back to get back to the water park. Anyways, I was by myself as I was on the stairs in line waiting for my turn. A man came up behind me, and I felt his body touch my butt. I figured maybe he didn't realize he was touching me. I wasn't sure, so I moved away the best I could, and he moved with me. I felt my heart racing. I was wondering if this man was touching me with his crotch, but I was too scared to look at him. When the line moved, I stepped up a step, and there he was again, up against my butt. So the next time the line moved, I decided I needed to see exactly which part of this man's body was touching me. And lo and behold, as I stepped up and quickly turned my head, the only part of this man's bathing suit that was wet was his crotch. I felt so disgusted and scared. I started thinking what would happen if he and I ended at the bottom of the water slide alone together. What would he do to me? The slide wasn't worth the risk, so I got out of line and ran down the stairs, and hid behind a pole and watched to see if he would get off too. Sure enough, he did. I ran like hell to find my family. Sadly, I did not say anything to them, because I was a wuss. As we were finally leaving, I followed behind my mother, and of course, she took me directly towards him. As I passed him, all I got was the shivers. I'll never forget that day, and I will always think about what possibly could have happened if I did not get out of line. This happened only a couple months ago, so I'm still quite on edge. I had a group of friends that lived about an hour and a half away from me, and I would frequently go hang out with them. The drive never really bothered me, but after this particular night, I dread it. I first noticed the car about 20 minutes into my trip home. It was about 2 a.m., so not many cars were on the road. This guy was practically right in my bumper, which I thought was strange because there were no other cars out. I quickly wrote it off and tuned back into my music. The time on the freeway is about 55 minutes, and he was behind me the entirety of it. When I saw he was getting off at the same exit, I got a little anxious. But I told myself I was just being paranoid. I was heading home as I normally would, until I noticed that this car was making every turn right behind me. I started turning down random roads to test my theory of them following me, and just as I had suspected, they were trailing behind. I stopped going towards my house and started driving randomly, trying to think of what to do. I tried whipping down roads at the last second, but that didn't work. I was driving through red lights and stop signs because I was scared what would happen if I stopped. I was desperate at this point, so I called the police and told them I was being followed for over an hour. I gave them a description of the car and my location. The dispatcher told me to drive to the police station and there would be officers waiting in the parking lot. As soon as I turned into the parking lot, the car sped off. One of the police cars immediately flipped on their lights and followed them. I stayed at the station and gave my statement, but I never got a call or anything like that. After that night, I only drive during the day. I don't want to know what would have happened if I were to go home. Update. I followed up with the police station. The officer I spoke to said he wouldn't get into detail, but there was a lot of meth found in the man's car, along with sharp weapons. He is now in jail. I definitely needed that peace of mind.